Now in this lesson, we'll go ahead and finish the setup of our keys and see if we could get to setting up our character sets as well. We are just about finished with our rig. We're at the final lap, we can say. All we need to do now is finish up the setup of our keys, and then afterwards we'll go through and make sure that we have a good character set set up for our characters so we can organize those as well, our keys that is, and just make it easier for the animator to control our watchman. So let's go ahead and get right started. We'll start with start with the lesson by going to our fan in and out and working on our last attribute. So with that selected, we'll make sure that's set to 0. We'll make sure all of our keys are set to 0, which they should be, and hit key selected. Now we can switch this to -10, and what we'll do is go ahead and work on fanning our keys out. So we'll make our -10 value our min value where they fan out, and then our max value where they fan in. Okay, and again we want to give these some offset as we rotate them. So there's the first, we go to our next key, bring that out some, and the next key, there it is, key B, we'll bring that out. Alright, and then as we get closer to the center, of course we're not going to want to do too many tweaks to our keys. So like key C, that's almost the midpoint, so we can just barely turn that following the orientation of the key prior to it, key B. Go next to key F and just do a slight fix to that, being that that's about the center point. Go to key E and start bringing that slightly to the opposite direction. And as we get to our next key, which is key D, we'll bring that out some more. Then we get to key A, we'll roll that out. And then key G. Okay, almost like a mirror of the key we have on the opposite end, key I. Alright, so once we have these, we have the keys fanned out. We can select all of our keys again, and making sure all of the rotations are selected, we'll hit key select. Wait for it to update, and great, and we can even test this out. Excellent. Now after that's done, we can move on to going to a value of 10, and again going through and bringing in the keys this time, pointing inward towards the center. We want to also be mindful of inner penetration with our objects, so we're going to try to avoid that. We'll go to the next key, key A, just bring that in, and again we're going to get a good feeling of offset as we animate these attributes. Okay, so afterwards I do encourage you to test that out and see what type of result you can get. Okay, I've personally gone ahead and did a test and thought it was quite well. Alright, so once we move on from there, we get to our next key, key E. That's not going to be moved too much. Neither is key F, there it is. Being that that's at the center point, just about. Okay, we test out both views. Alright, so that brings us now to key C. We'll bring that in. Then we move to key B. Bring that in as well. And once we like the position there, we'll go to key H. Move that in. And finish by going to key I and adjusting that accordingly. Alright, great. So once we like our position of our keys, of course we can now select all of our keys and hit key selected. Then we can close out our set driven key, Go to our control and test it out. Wonderful. So now we have this nice fan in and out. Alright, great. And again, you can go ahead and do some tests with these attributes and see what type of effect you can come up with. But if you are getting the pause still out of the keys, you can go ahead and just select them all, go into the outliner. From the outliner, we will go to our graph editor. Again, I'm just using my hotkey, Control-Alt-A. So if you don't have that assigned to anything, I'd recommend using that. But we'll select the midpoint key and use spline. So what we should get now is a nice smooth transition as we go to from our min to our max and vice versa. Wonderful. So what does that leave us with now that this is finished? That leads us to our last major task for this rig before we go through and just double check to make sure that everything is organized and still moving correctly. Okay, which I do recommend as well. Now I do have a character set node in here already prepared, but what I'm going to go ahead and do, let me go to the outliner here, just shrink everything. Okay, everything is within its set, but here's our character set node. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that and just go through that process again for you so you can see the process that I go through for making character sets. So I make a top node, can go to character, tear off the menu, go to create character set options. Okay, and notice we have right here a Watchman node. Okay, that's following from my last naming scheme, so we can continue with that. Just type in Watchman 01 and hit apply to make that character set, and then the remainder are actually sub character sets. So we have a top node to keep that organized, followed by sub character sets that control things like our upper part of the body, lower part of the body, like the feet, the knees, even the hips, then the flashlight, the keys, the head, eyes, all of those things, so we can keep our keys organized. The animator, I believe, would really appreciate that. So now that we have our main character set made, we'll go to our sub character sets, and let's go ahead and give it a naming scheme. So we can call it WM for Watchman, and we'll start by giving the first one a label of eyes. That'll control all of our eye controls. 01, making it all keyable. Okay, so we can add anything we like if we were to add any other attributes later on. And we'll hit apply. Then we could just switch eyes here to the next name. We could call that face for all of the facial controls. We'll give them and hit apply. And then next we go to adding fingers. Hit apply. And afterwards we can make one for the flashlight. We'll hit apply. Our next, we'll call it hat. Apply. And then we'll make one for the upper body, our arms, our elbows, shoulders. So we'll call that upper _ body. And hit apply. And then one for our lower body. Apply. Wonderful. So now that all of these things are done, if we want to go ahead and view them, we go to Set Current Character Set, and notice they're right underneath our main Watchman node. And also, if we go to our outliner, also notice that things are still cleaned up. We just have one node, and if we want to get to the others, we can simply open that up. Great. So what we're going to do is stop the lesson here. In the next lesson, we're going to get to seeing how we can select these character sets a little bit faster, and also see if we could start applying our controls to those character sets before we call this Watchman pretty much done.